Good morning to everyone. Good morning to all our viewers on Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom. I'm Boletta Wilson, Secretary of TTSIDA. This morning, our President, Mr. Alan Ferguson, he is joined by Mr. Kenny Plaza, former Secretary of TTSIDA, and Mr. Rondell Fields, Vice President of TNT Automotive Dealers Association. Before I ask our President to give his address, let me read a media release by the Ministry of Energy on yesterday's meeting with TTSIDA. Government ministers meet with the Scrap Iron Dealers Association executive. Today, a government cabinet subcommittee consisting of the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries and the Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, the Honorable Stuart R. Young MP, Chairman, the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Senator the Honorable Reginald Armour SC, Minister of Trade and Industry, Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi-Schoon, and the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines MP, who joined virtually, met with the members of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association executive led by President Mr. Alan Ferguson, at the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries Tower C International Waterfront Center to discuss the plaguing issue of theft relating to the scrap iron industry. The government committee had asked the association for its comments and strategies to combat the problem of widespread theft of metals taking place. Mr. Ferguson presented to the committee a proposal of temporary measures recommended by the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association to address the theft of scrap metals. The government committee received the suggestions and indicated that the government will have to take urgent action to address the criminality and criminal elements plaguing the sector, as the increased levels of wanton theft are presenting serious national security risks. The committee indicated the government's willingness to continue working with the association on the development and implementation of revised regulations and policies to regulate the industry and address the criminal activity taking place. However, it was emphasized that urgent action is required to address the existing situation and that the government will take the appropriate urgent action to arrest the problems associated with the widespread theft of metal items taking place throughout Trinidad and Tobago. The meeting was a productive and useful one. Before I ask the President to speak, I'd just like to let the members of the media know you can ask your questions on Zoom at the appropriate time. All right? So now I'd like to invite our President, Mr. Alan Ferguson, to address you.
Good morning to each and every one. Good morning to all the media that here with us and listening today. First, I want to put out a special thanks to the Prime Minister to hear in our call and give us that strong meeting yesterday. So I want to thank the Prime Minister first, and I also want to thank the ministers that was there yesterday. And I also want to thank my team for making it easy for me also yesterday. Trinidad and Tobago. This morning, my usual way of doing things is letting you know the truth and where our stand is in this industry. This morning is also a kind of a special morning for me. I wasn't able to tell you it, but it's a special morning for me. I feel good. I feel good in one way, and I feel sad in the next way. But eventually, the sadness will go. When I usually get rid of what I have in my mind, my sadness will go. So yesterday we meet with the ministers, the Minister of Energy, Mr. Stuart Young also. We meet with the Attorney General, the Minister of National Security. We also meet with the Trade Minister. And we had a fruitful meeting. But also out of that meeting, it was like we have to take some immediate action based on our things that are taking place in our industry. I have absolutely no problem taking immediate action on things that are taking place in our industry. I have absolutely no problem with it. Because Trinidad and Tobago, I want you to know, because the people that you see removing a lot of things, like TSCT wire and cutting WhatsApp pipe and all these other things, we know these is, you could see it, and we know it's not scrap dealers. It's not the original people that go out in bands. We know it's our brothers, it's our sisters. You could see it. This industry, because it's open and it's not regulated, a lot of people could just run into our industry and make this industry look bad. So we decided we will have to take some immediate actions based on what's taking place in our industry. Because, brothers and sisters, I want to make a plea to you today, and I want to make a plea to also our scrap dealers. Today is a day. I know you don't like to listen, but I just want you to know that when you come off the streets and you go and pull down TSTT wire and you disrupt this industry, what you're doing is putting our industry in risk. Because now look what is taking place because of y'all. Look what's taking place. We right now have to fight a situation to make sure and stop our industry from shutting down. We have to put actions in place to make sure our industry is not going to be shut down. Because of you coming off the street and attacking government property and private people property also. And look what is taking place now. We as the executive of the association have to make some serious decisions because of y'all. And nobody don't want to know that you're not a scrap dealer. And I could understand why they will blame us. I could understand it. So what we have to do now, today, and you will hear what we plan to do and able to stop all this stuff from taking place in Trinidad. And let me tell you something. There are some people who belong to our organization. It's just a few. It's not even a handful. I am telling you today, if you don't bust a hole in that pool to let that water drain out, because you continue throwing all kind of things in that pool, if you do not drain out that pool, we will come and bail it out. And when the pool is bailed out, everything will expose to the authorities, because we have no other opportunity no other choice to bail out that pool. You have to understand that. You have to understand it. You causing a lot of problem in this industry. A lot of y'all know that stolen stuff is coming to your yard, and you're still pushing it. You're still pushing it. You don't care about this industry. You don't care. But I'm telling you today, if you don't drain out your pool and you don't bust a hole that the water could drain out, we will come and bail it out for you. Because I think it is going on and on and on. You know yourself. You know yourself. We don't need to call out your name. You know who causing problem in our industry. You and your pettiness. You and your pettiness to Trinidad and Tobago. I want you to know that these bandmen that is come around your place in the next 7 days, we as the association, with our members, we will roll out all these bandmen to us. Will have to have a sticker, and we identify them to you, so you will be able to see the people who's coming to purchase material from you or who's picking up material from you. We will roll it out. And the yards, all the yards who belong to the association, and people who don't want to follow the rules, I am telling you, if you don't ship out, if you don't straighten out yourself, gone you're gone. Because you believe we don't have the strength in the association to stop you. But let me explain something to you. We could object to your license, and you will no longer have your license. If the authorities is not doing nothing, we decide that we will do something. Whilst we wait on the government to regularize this industry, we have to do something as an organization. We have to do something. And the something is that we will put down our feet today and say enough is enough. You can't continue doing this in this industry. When the government, if the government do, and God forbid that they close down this industry because of y'all ain't care about this industry, you know what will happen? These people and thousands of people who work in this industry, even myself, they close down petrol train. A lot of people get money, you know. A lot of people get money. Look, they interfere with TTSIDA. A lot of people will get money. But in this industry, if it closes down, not one person will get money, you know. We will have nothing to collect. So that is why we had to stand firm with you all from today. And we had to say enough is enough. Because we have to save this industry. We will have to show the government that we're serious also. Because this industry is help a lot of poor people. But I want to say today that if this industry, God forbid, closed down, I want you just to understand something. There's a lot of honest people in this industry. A lot of people make an honest dollar each and every day in this industry. And I just want to show you some poor people who just operate in this industry, Trinidad and Tobago. Look at the dump in Beetham. The amount of people make an honest dollar by going and retrieving that steel in that dump. And why is they doing that? They're also helping the government too, you know. Because when that steel go down and bury in the dump, it interferes with our water courses. And we doing all of these things, the people who go into the dump and removing all this steel in the dump is just doing good for Trinidad. Because they're also moving the steel from going down and bury in the earth. So Trinidad and Tobago, we need to understand that we can't allow this a few amount of people to able to damage our industry more than what they've done already. So we need to put a stop to it. And it has some people will want to, some people, let me explain, I am telling you again, if you don't straighten out yourself, you will have to ship out. And we in the association, we had put in a drive to try to make some change into this organization. We will register some new people is coming to us. And if you don't want to ship out, and you don't want to move out from this industry because you're doing damage to it, we also will bring in some foreign people to invest in our industry and come and buy our material. If you don't straighten out yourself, I have done already make contact with international people to come to assist us here by coming and purchase our material. If y'all don't want to ship out, straighten out yourself from doing the wrong. Because if you don't purchase the SCT wire, it will have a market for it. It will stop the theft. And you is doing all this damage and all this sort of pettiness is going wrong with you all. So I'm letting Trinidad and Tobago know. This Saturday it will be a day of, it's going to be a serious day for our organization, because we will invite each and every one scrapyard in Trinidad and Tobago to be here in this whole Saturday. Because as we roll out our plans to save this industry, who don't want to come to save this industry, we will know and we will make them out. Because this industry is bigger than one man. This industry is bigger than one man. This industry have nothing to do with because you believe that you is the biggest or you have plenty money. You could do what you want. You could purchase what you want. This day, that must stop. And I am telling you, I am ready to stand strong as a leader. I am ready to be in front. I am ready to stand firm. I am ready to make sure that the correct thing is done in this organization. I am ready to make sure that the proper thing have been done in this organization. Because too long, you always continue with this evilness. Look what you've done already. Look what you've done already to this organization. So I am saying today, it must have a stop to it. And I, as a leader, I will rule, I will lead from in front. So don't believe that I will be coming in your yards too. And we will also, before we act, we will call you in. We will tell you to straighten out your situation. And if you don't want to straighten out your situation, we will inform the authorities. And I'm making it clear here today. We can't allow you to destroy this organization, this industry, because a lot of people gain out of this industry. A lot of people live out of this industry. And we can't let 2 or 3 people mash up this industry. And we will work with the government also to make sure that this industry being regularized and being done in the proper way. We will work with the government. We will stand firm with them to make sure this industry stands strong. And we will get out of it. Trinidad and Tobago, we will get out of it. And I'm calling to all the scrapyard in Trinidad and Tobago. I am telling you today, let us stand firm. Come to the meeting Saturday. Come, let us stand strong and show Trinidad and Tobago that we could do it. We could organize. We could mobilize ourselves. And the few that taken part in all the theft and purchasing material that they ain't supposed to purchase, we will stand firm for this organization, and we will be able to come out of this mess that we're in clean without any problem, brothers and sisters. So I tell you today, please let us work together with the government. Let all of us stand firm and remove this evil from in our industry. The only way we could do it is when we stand firm, when we stand strong. That's the only way we could do it, because this industry needs people to stand up strong. And it's just a few, as I mentioned it, I keep saying it, it's just a few handful of us that are doing this evil. So, before I carry you on more and more, because I know it has some explanation and all things to come after me, I am saying to Trinidad and Tobago, the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Association is ready to stand strong with our members to make sure we remove this theft and this evil from our industry. And we've said again and again, we will sit down and we will work with the government to make sure that this organization, this industry, come out of this evilness that's taking place all around Trinidad. I thank you for listening to me. I thank you for understanding. I am thanking after the rest of the speakers, I probably have to answer questions. I have no problem with it. So I will put you back onto the secretary.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Kenny Plaza, I now invite you to make your contribution.
Hi, good morning to all, the viewing public, our panel here, our president. Thanks very much for your speech, Mr. President. We also thank the government very much for yesterday's meeting, for us to find some kind of clarity on how we go forward with the industry now. We discussed yesterday with the government, taking measures that will be temporary for now and incorporated into law eventually, because we have changes in the laws of how this industry is being governed. We look into the present situation the industry is in, what has caused it, and how we decide to get out of it. There are certain measures we decided on, and as the association, we stand firm on those measures, as you heard from our president. Now, before I go into discussing those measures, this is a call also for everyone that dealing in the scrap metal and recycling industry to get registered with our association, because there will become a time very soon that if you're not registered, you will not be able to do anything with regards to recycling in this country. So the call is now for you all to take heed, to become registered and recognized as either one of three categories that will be coming out. One will be the scrap collectors. Those are commonly known as the van men on the road picking up scrap. Two, all dealers. Everybody with a scrap iron dealer's license. And even if you do not have a license as yet, it is a call for you to register with the association, get your house and your act together, because you need to be a registered and licensed scrap dealer according to the laws of Trinidad and Tobago to be able to trade in any type of scrap metal in this industry, and it is still governed by the 1904 Act of the Scrap Metal and Marine Stores Act. Right? So you all need to understand that you have to be registered by law. And the association is the governing body now that everybody should recognize that works for this industry. And you need to be registered with the association. And the third category of people we talked about here now is the exporters. Now, our exporters are basically two types. There are the actual scrap dealers who export on their own, and then there are foreigners who are here buying and exporting from the scrap dealers. Everyone needs to be registered with the association as of now. That is our call. Whether you be from Trinidad as an exporter, whether you be from India, whether you be from China, you need to be a registered exporter. Because we know there are many people operating in this industry still that are going under the radar without even licenses. And everybody needs to understand that there are regulations coming that you need to have your license in order. So coming forward, there would be a collector's license for the men who on the street picking up scrap. There is the dealer's license as well, and there's also the exporter's license. You need to have your house in order and have these proper licenses. Right? So as we say, enough is enough. We do not condone the theft of any private or public materials, whether it be iron, copper, brass, or whatever it be. We do not condone it. So enough is enough, and our association stands strong to say that we do not tolerate it, and we would not be tolerating it in the future. Now, the association has come forward also. In order for this to roll out, starting from as of Saturday, we will have sensitization of this industry to both the operators in the industry and the public. Because the public will now need to understand that the people who collect and scrap would be able to be easily identified by being members of the association as collectors. And this was also an understanding that it is in our short-term policy that the government had approved yesterday by listening to us. Right? So now, all these sensitization programs will be held in different forms, whether it be on media, whether it be on social media, whether it be going around to different communities. We will have these sensitization programs. So everybody will understand what the role of the scrap collector is in your neighborhood. We'll be doing some of these programs along with the community police in each area. So there will be some townhouse meetings. So we would advise the public hearing this, when it's in your area, to please attend to these meetings, because you will need to understand where this association wants to carry recycling as well. Right? So before I go any further into any classifications into this industry again, we now will go and look at what our action plan is for the internal operation of this industry. Right? And this has come out in light of the theft and vandalism, both in private and public. Right? The Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association has decided to create a listing of specific items of interest in the metal categories. Right? And there will be two metal categories for who don't understand it. There's the ferrous and the non-ferrous. In the non-ferrous is the things like aluminum, copper, and brass. Now, the brass and copper, which has been in a lot of contention recently with the state entities, WASA and TSTT especially, losing their materials. And then we have the ferrous, where even state entities are complaining to us that they're losing metal items like gates and fencing, manhole covers, metal doors, and even our oil company has continued to lose items such as compressors and pumps. These will be specific items of interest now in our industry. So anytime a scrap iron operator, whether a collector or a dealer, sees these items of interest, it is a red flag. This will now tell the dealer, was these items obtained legally? And there will be extensive proof needed to prove that it was obtained legally. Right? So our scrap operators action plan is in 4 categories. 1, all scrap collectors will be registered with the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association. 2, all scrap collectors must be publicly identifiable by the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association sticker. 3, all scrap collectors must present upon to scrap iron dealers or yards, as is known, a complete van collector's form for all metals that fall within this specific items of interest. A scrap collector form will bear the personal details. It will bear a description of the quantity and the items involved, the location they were obtained from, and, if any, the cost to acquire them. And this will also be needed alongside the information of the person releasing these items into your custody. Right? The information would be the address and phone number of the previous owner of these materials before the scrap collector would have it. Number 4, these in transit, these specific items of interest must be able or must be filled out on a form before you decide to move, that it must be available for inspection at any time by the TTPS or licensing authority or the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association to extension. Failure to do so, scrap collectors could be taken into custody and all goods in transit seized for investigation. So that concludes our interim plan for the scrap collectors. The scrap iron dealers operation plan. There are also 8 items that we will discuss. And these items are: all Trinidad and Tobago scrap iron dealers will be registered and appointed registration numbers in numerical order. Number 2, all registered Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association dealers will erect public and visible signs bearing the dealers' registration numbers. 3, all TTSIDA registered dealers will have to display their registration certificates at all times in their place of business. That goes alongside with the license from the government to be a scrap iron dealer. 4, all TTSIDA registered dealers will be required also to fill out the forms of specific items of interest, where the collector's personal details, van registration number, their license number as well, and will be needed to be filled out on these forms. So if for any instance an item of interest pops up at any dealer's yard, they have to have this form filled out and say, I get it from X, Y, or Z, and exactly what it is and the quantity it is in. The date, the location where it came from, and contact information for the person where it was located at. 5, TTSIDA registered dealers will hold all metals within their specific items of interest in custodial care for 7 days, where in that time, relevant checks and confirmations must be made to ensure that these items were obtained legally and not stolen. They will be also kept in case that the police have any matters linking any of this material so it will be visible to the authorities. Failure to perform these checks can result in a dealer being held responsible for the items in their possession. 6, in event a theft is detected, the registered TTSIDA dealer must contact the nearest police station, surrender the goods to the authority, and furnish the police service with all details of the collector. 7, in its daily proceedings, all TTSIDA registered scrap iron dealers must be able to produce their filled out special items of interest forms for inspection anytime by the TTPS or the licensing authority or the Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association contingent. 8, both the scrap collectors and the TTSIDA scrap iron dealers found with metals identifiable as public property that has been stolen, any way illegally obtained, will face the full consequences of the law. These 8 suggestions are the short term that will help alleviate in the export of any illegal material obtained so as to minimize theft in the interim as well, and being a thing of the past that there is no longer theft associated with this industry. Right? This basically is our short-term action plan on how we deal with the scrap collectors and also the scrap iron dealers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Plaza. I'd like to ask Mr. Rondell Fields to make his contribution.
Morning, everyone. All protocols observed. I am Rondell Fields, Vice President of the Trinidad and Tobago Automotive Dealers Association. I was invited here by Mr. Ferguson in an advisory capacity. One thing, I mean, and understandably so, me as a member of society, I saw it as my civil duty based on some of the things that was taking place in the public, some of the issues that was taking place in the public, and also as a businessman, I also saw it as my duty again. To assist in the advising of our organization that is now embarking upon policy and regulation. Our industry would have faced similar fates years gone by, and I mean it was only understandable that I would empathize with Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Plaza, and the entire TTSIDA. This happens when we fail to regulate. This happens when we fail to put things in place. And from an advisory point or a mediating point, I can't squarely put the blame on TTSIDA, put the blame on people on the outside there. This is why it was valuable and important that the government engaged TTSIDA yesterday so that we put regulation in place, so that the right thing is done, so that people behave in the right manner and that the business is legitimized. So all I want to say today is to make a call on every scrap iron dealer. This is your bread and this is your butter. Come out to TTSIDA, register with TTSIDA, be a part of the regulatory process so that you aren't left out of the process. You all are in what you call the gestational stages of your industry, where you must be made, what you know must be made public to the authorities so that the policies you want to see implemented are implemented. I must commend Mr. Ferguson, I must commend Mr. Plaza for some of the things that I would have heard there, particularly those specific items of interest, the manhole covers, we seen the TSCT copper, we seen all those things that people in the public sharing all over Facebook. Categorizing them in such a manner and putting a focus on them and treat with them was a very wise move, and this is exactly what we would like to see the government support. I know these are policies that you all are immediately going to put into action so that it starts to stem the theft and the bad activity taking place in the society. And I encourage the government to follow suit. I encourage the government to give proper and full consideration of these suggestions so that we could curb the theft while we allow this new industry to thrive and while we allow other persons to become involved who are willing to become legitimate and good businessmen in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. I'd like to ask the members of the media to please send forward your questions. I have a few questions here. Okay, questions to the panel. The government said it would be taking urgent steps to address the situation. Did they indicate what steps would be? What these steps would be?
What I could say is that everybody know the announcement that the Prime Minister made. What we're trying to do as an organization is to make sure that we lead from in front and to make sure that the government do not shut down the industry, because a lot of people will be unemployed after it. So we as an organization decided that we're going to take these steps that we talked about just about 2 seconds ago, that we need to put something in place to make sure that we as scrap dealers not purchase it. And if we do not purchase it, then it don't have a market and we don't have a problem. But if we continue to purchase stolen stuff, then we will have an industry, because we know the government will act, because people is crying out. So we as scrap dealers, we decided that we have to take steps to make sure that this step don't take place again.
Okay, next question. Okay. From what was discussed at the meeting yesterday, was there any indication of a total shutdown, even if it would be temporary?
After the discussions with the government officials yesterday, there was no final indication of a total shutdown at this time. What they had clearly stated is that we take in front, sensitize the public, and put measures in place to alleviate the theft of any type of property in the country. That's it.
Okay, next question. When would the registration process for van men begin?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're having a meeting with most scrapyards and all the people involved in the industry this Saturday here. And then next Saturday, we will roll out all registration for van men. We will have the sticker and we will start the rollout from next Saturday. Okay? God willing, next Saturday, we will roll out all the plans that we have next Saturday. God willing.
Okay, next question. How confident are you that the van men and scrapyards will cooperate with the registration process?
Well, if you want to save this industry, I don't see why you would want to do it if you want to save the industry. Because if we, as the recognized body, don't do nothing as an association, where we go stand up? The government will shut down the industry, and then you will have nothing to do. You will have no material to go and pick up. You will have nothing to sell. So I think that is why I make the call for us to cooperate with one another, work with one another to save the industry. This is not about you know. This is about the industry. And if you have personal things to think about, or you don't like this one and you don't like that one, but I really hardly get some of this in this industry. So I believe that all of us would work together to make sure we save this industry. So that question is, I believe that our members and other people who is involved in this industry, we will work together to save this industry. Because I know people borrow a lot of money to buy the equipment, and they will want to get stick up with all this debt on their hand. So they will cooperate with us to be able to save this industry.
Next question. Any discussion on the legislation to govern the industry with the government, particularly the Attorney General?
Well, as we mentioned just now, we had discussion with them. We had a temporary plan because this what taking place in this industry now need an immediate action, you know. Once we sit down and we put plans and we sit down to regulate this industry needs immediate actions. So we discussed that with the government and we decided that we will take in front with immediate actions to be able to stop this step from taking place all over. Because we had to lead in front. We is the ones that purchase the material. We is the one that buy the material. So we have nothing, we had to answer. So we is the one to go in front. And if we stop the market, if we stop the purchasing of items that are being stolen, that ends everything. So we have to lead in front.
Okay, as to further answer that question, yes, the Minister Siot Young said, along with the Minister of Trade, that there are plans already being drafted and they had some changes to do to some of it. So the legislation is in the process because this is something that the association and the government has been working on since 2011. So yes, to answer that question, there is legislation coming out very soon from the government's perspective that was worked on in conjunction with the TTSIDA in the past.
Next.
Any more questions?
Next question. Will there be any follow-up meeting or discussion with the government?
Yes. That is why we say we will work with the government to make sure that to regularize this industry, and also based on the plans that we're rolling out, we know we'll have a lot of discussion with the government. I think yesterday was the start of a lot of meetings with them this industry is an industry that, as I mention all the time, this industry employ a lot of people, and we have to do all the things necessary with the government to make sure we save this industry. So it will be a lot of other meetings we will have with the government.
Okay. Who is mandating that persons be registered with the association? Would it be written by law?
Now, if you listen what we say, we is making a call. We is making a call because we leading in front to save the industry. And we say all our members will have a sticker that you could recognize them. And we will be encouraging other people to do so the same way. The reason for that is that people will be able to identify you all when you come with a van by them. And for straighten out this industry, we need to do something like this. To able to recognize the people that register with the association, so we have a record about them, because most of the time people go by somebody with a van and they pull out and they do all kind of evilness. Nobody don't have nothing, but when you have a big stick on your two doors, your two front doors, they will be able to see some number or see something that they could make a call. And that's what we're going to do. And if anybody have problem with that, well then you is probably one of the persons that continue stealing people's stuff. Because if you have problem with that, why you will have problem doing things that the correct things? And because who it come from?
Just additionally to what Mr. Ferguson had to say there, I think it's important to set a template that even the government can take a page from, something that seems to work even in the interim. You're looking for immediate solution, and I think that, that is the advice that we've been offering, that you form a template that is workable and that is operational, so that even when the government monitors it, they see that it is good and it is working well. So it's about setting a template that you all start before even policy or legislation gets here. So you start what you call self-regulate.
Correct.
Okay, so this question you can say is probably a follow-up of what you just answered, but I'll ask it still. how would the scrapyards and collectors be monitored? Who will be doing the monitoring?
Let me say this, and that is why, if you understand this industry, that is why we put in the necessary things concerning the van men. And if it's not being done properly with the van men, when it come into the yard, it's going to be material that's not stolen stuff come into the yard. And that is why the importance of making sure the van men do the proper thing. Now, when it comes to the yard, what we will do also that we mentioned is that the material that come into the yard will have to put down for 7 days. So any theft that take place in reference to that material, if any relevant authorities know, they could come to the yards and see the material. And that is why we're doing all these things. Put the material down for 7 days so you could come and take a look to see what we have. That 7 days is very important.
All right, next question. Where will persons go to register and what would be the requirements be?
Can you want to help them out with that one?
Okay. We have on the TTSIDA, there's our website where there's a registration form that's drafted where you could fill out if it's easier for you online, or you can contact the TTSIDA office at the numbers available and register with TTSIDA. So
and also with the registration, we will be going in 4 different areas. First, when we start the first registration, we'll be in Claxon Bay, and then we go to Penal, and then we will go to Sogonas, and then Arima. So we will be announcing different areas. We'll be doing registration. But if a person want to leave from south to come to Claxon Bay to register, he could do that also too. But we will be in different areas on Saturday, and we will be starting registration from Saturday in reference to the sticker and what you do with your yard and all these necessary things. All these things, as I say, will roll out from this Saturday. So it doesn't matter if you're coming from wherever you're coming. If you want to come to Claxon Bay for the first registration, there will be not a problem for that.
If you'll allow me, just to pitch back to the last question, I think this is important. I think it's important to understand it's about creating a chain of traceable facts and checks. That's what it's about. So coming from the collector, which is the scrap collector, straight to the scrap iron dealer, straight to exportation, it's being able to make a chain of connectivity where all information can be verifiable. So based on what was presented there, you must be able to make checks on collection. Data must be collected, the scrap collector. Then on delivery to the yard, the scrap iron dealer must be able, before receiving, to receive that information from them as well. Then research that information, confirm checks and balances at that point in time, verify that it's not stolen material before they even proceed to exportation. So it's about a chain of checks and balances from the beginning of the process to the ending of the process, so that by the time it gets to exportation, you can guarantee yourself it's not stolen products being exported.
The next question, I think I can answer that. They're asking if they can have a copy of the recommendations outlined by Mr. Plaza. We will have that available for the press. Next question. What are the requirements to get a license, and where will the forms be made available? Oh.
Which side? Right?
Well, it says license as opposed to...
Okay.
No, well,
Okay, to start with, license is issued by the government. It is not issued by TTSIDA. What we would be doing is registration of individuals involved in the industry. You will have certificates of registration. You will have badges for the collectors, not licenses. So I don't want the public or anyone getting this mixed up. TTSIDA do not issue licenses. That is something done by the government. Thank you.
well,
Well, presently the scrap iron dealer's license is issued by the magistrate courts within the district of operation. But other than that, there is no collector's license available at this point in time, or there is no any other formal license or anything else issued by the TTSIDA, or any license is again by the magistrate courts of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, we have a question on Zoom. Go ahead.
Yes, so I wanted to find out what happens if, a collector decides not to be registered with the association and still decides to operate. Even a possible dealer decides not to be registered with the association. Does the association have any teeth at all in terms of taking any measure against a collector or a dealer who decides not to follow and get registered?
Okay, to answer that question, first let's deal with the scrap iron dealer. It is law in Trinidad and Tobago that anybody in the business of purchasing or selling scrap metal needs to have a license issued by the magistrate's court. So that clarifies for the scrap dealers. For the collectors, on the other hand, the association, as we suggested, will be issuing badges and stickers on your vehicle doors. These will be identifiable. Think about it, if you do not choose to be registered with the association, eventually it would look as though you're not doing the right thing.
And we will inform people. We will do campaigning, being an advertising, telling them if they do not have a sticker stating who is them, not to do business with them, because we as an organization have to feel and deal with all the problems that they're causing in this industry. So we must lead. And then there's a law, and I don't want to make it clear that if there's a van man, we could show you that you're breaking the law if you don't come out from a scrapyard going to collect material. If we don't authorize you to go and collect the material, we could show you law that you're breaking the law of Trinidad and Tobago. We have that in the Constitution. If we as scrapyard don't send you out, you could be breaking the law.
Sorry
about it. Just to speak to the question, because the question is a good question and leans to the importance of the value of regulation for the government to act. The Ministry of Trade possibly could take over that mantle of the registration of all scrap iron dealers, just as they do with foreign used car dealers, where you must be registered and you can only operate once you are registered with them, and you only issue licenses once you are registered under the Ministry of Trade. So hence the importance now, as I said before, this is a template for them to act in the immediate circumstance. But there is value now that the ministry intervenes, and if the ministry puts some of these things as mandates, then you're going to get the desired result that you want.
And if I may ask, for the benefit of the public, what are the consequences, or what's in terms of if you are operating without a license issued by the court, what kind of penalties do you face? Are the penalties adequate?
Well, we don't have the penalty.
At this present time, the law lets the magistrate court determine penalties. We at the association have no clear idea what the limit of the penalties are.
We don't have it here, but it is penalties based on if you don't have no license, and also if you don't have a license, that's a serious thing, and some people really take chances. So I think that is one of the things that we will also try for the government to enforce this yards and them operating without license, and these are the yards sometimes causing a lot of problems for us too. So we as the association, we decided also too that we will be going to check and make sure that you have your license and your documents okay too. Because we used to do it in the past. And so we're going to start back all of that too.
So, Mr. Ferguson, the issue of penalties for not operating without a license or operating illegally was not discussed at yesterday's meeting with the government, and possibly reviewing what those penalties are to make sure that they're adequate to prevent what is occurring?
You see, I will explain to you, right? Our act that governs us now is something that is old. And that is why we had called in 2011 to regularize this industry, that all these things will change up. But if you go now and you look at the new policy that the Ministry of Trade have been advertised, you will see that if you break the law with these things, sometimes you see $250,000, you see $500,000 for breaking certain laws, being without license, doing all these things. But it start, I mean, we have started with the government to work with them in reference to regularizing in this industry. So I could tell you, because this industry is an old industry, and the act didn't amended until it just recently amended the licenses where they could go to a licenses committee in 2013. That was amended, but since I think this is 1904. Nothing has been done to this industry. So you could understand that. So this is where we face also too.
Can you also permit me to ask, are licenses forthcoming, or is the process bureaucratic for new dealers, or even, well, you say collectors would get a badge and certificate. So for new dealers who may want to enter the industry, is it an easy process?
Yeah, well, if you want to come involved in this industry, it's very easy. Sometimes some people think it's hard. So we as the association, we advise you, if you want to get the whole thing, because you have no way to have it advertising. So we as the association, we does help you out with filling out the form and telling you what you have to go to the court with and what necessary things you need to do, what type of yard you need to put on, if you need to bar on your yard, if you need to do all that. We advise people how to go along getting into the business. We take that up, we take that lead to assist people in getting the license also too. That answer your question?
Yes, relatively. If you can give me like the average time frame that it would take once you have everything in order to actually get the license from the court, the actual process.
Well, sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes a little more than a month. But really the whole action really is really about a month. And then you will get your license. And the license, as it is now, is a year license, only license for a year. But the new policy that we and the government we work out that the licenses will last for 5 years instead of 1 year. Because every year we have to go to the court, and sometimes we have to wait a long period of time to get our licenses too. But I think based on our input in advising them, I think they agree that the licenses will last for 5 years instead of 1 year.
And so these new policies that you're putting into place, if a dealer does not, let's say, comply, are those reasons, or would that be in lots of reasons to have these licenses revoked?
No, well, as I say, first to be, you must have to have a license. You cannot operate in this industry without a license. You must have a license. And have a license, you will understand the importance of the association. I think you will understand the importance of the association. You see, we as an association, we have a kind of different way. A lot of people sometimes don't want to be part of an organization like association, but we hardly have this problem in this industry, you know. We really hardly have. If we have let me just use 200 people doing this business in Trinidad. If we have 20 people who do not belong to our organization, it's plenty, you know. I mention this all the time. When we taking lead, you know. We just go out and make sure that the thing go correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ferguson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Further to answer part of your questions that I didn't have the information in front of me. There is the scrap metal policy of Trinidad and Tobago 2021-25. That is a draft policy that was done on November 2020. And in the offenses and penalties, any person and it's in section 7.22 of the offenses and penalties. Any person found guilty of failing to register as a scrap metal dealer or to notify the trade licensing unit of alterations in appropriate particulars shall, on conviction, be liable to a fine not exceeding $50,000. That is a draft so far. This is not law as yet, but this is a draft. You can go up on the ministry's website and look at the scrap metal policy of Trinidad and Tobago 21 to 25. Right? Further to that, any person found guilty of failing to keep proper prescribed records shall be liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding $50,000. Also, any person who obstructs the entry of an authorized inspector or fails to produce any books or document which the officer has right to inspect shall be, on conviction, be liable to a fine not exceeding $30,000. And that is what it has so far in the draft document concerning penalties. Thank you.
Okay, another question I have here is, how long will dealers and van men have to register before these measures take effect?
As we mentioned, this rollout is going to take place for about a month. And as I say, we start next week, Saturday, and it will take place for about a month. And we will not say that if you did not register between the month, you weren't able to register. So we understand that, but we will be rolling it out for a month time, and then anybody who wants to take part after that month will have to come to our main office to able to register whatever necessary need to be done.
Our main office is 16 Bypass Road, Kelly Village, Caroni. Next question. To have to reach this stage, what does this say about our society and the people involved?
Mr. Field, you could answer that question.
I mean, we show concern about what we care about, and it exposes a lot. It exposes the pain in society. It exposes the lawlessness of society. It exposes, I mean, the social ills in our society as a people. I mean, we've just been out of a pandemic. A lot of people have lost their jobs. So yes, what they are doing are wrong. Many people on the streets doing these things. A lot of youth involved in it as well. But it shows that our society is in a crisis, greater and beyond just studying about scrap iron. If we don't treat it effectively and treat the social issue on a greater level and just considering scrap iron, I guarantee you they'll find something else to thief after. So this is a greater social issue that we have to make the right social intervention. The right people with the right passion and the right training need to be involved to get down to those who may be committing this wrong, particularly the younger ones, a lot of youth, a lot of 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old children who actually dropped out of school because of the pandemic committing these things. So it's about strengthening all aspects. What are we doing for these youths who are out on the street who didn't go back to school? We have remedial classes for those who failed. What about those who dropped out? So we're looking at one ill that is being impacted by a lot of other social issues that is in existence in our society. So that calls for amalgamation of all hands on deck for us to really look into dealing with the issue of theft and crime and criminality in our country. Because it's bigger than scrap iron.
Okay. Last question, I believe. What measures will be put in place to make sure the stickers are not copied through fraudulent practices?
We do have special security features that will be incorporated into these stickers. So they would not be able to be copied or counterfeited or duplicated or anything of this sort. Thank you.
I think these are all the questions that I have. Any other questions?
We gotta stop.
You want to make a final contribution? Is it?
I want to thank everybody for the questions. I want to thank the media, and I want to make it very clear today that I am calling on all people who involved in scrap collecting and also scrapyard. This Saturday, we will roll out our plans for our organization, and it's important that you be there to understand what you will have to do as a scrapyard. Because I am saying this today, if you want to save this industry, you will be here. I understand that some people have a lot of things sometimes to do, but try and make it, please. Because if you do not have this industry, you will not have a scrapyard. If this industry is not operating, the scrapyard is like you're wasting your time. All right? So I want to thank Mr. Fields for being here with us today. And I could tell you, when I called him the first time to tell him that I need somebody like him to advise this association and advise me, it was like he was ready to make himself available for this organization. And we need to understand that a lot of things has been taking place behind the scenes, and I'm telling you, he is doing a good work so far. And I want to also thank Kenny for coming on board, because I know that the last time this industry has shut down, Kenny had worked with me to make sure that this industry come back up. So I know Kenny also is capable. So I am just trying to put across to my members that we need this kind of knowledge to be able to go forward. So please, don't allow your pettiness to hold back this whole industry. Do not allow your pettiness to hold back this industry. This industry is bigger than one person. This industry is bigger than one yard. We need to save this industry because a lot of poor people depend on us. A lot of people is listening and a lot of people is calling us because a lot of people don't want this industry to shut down, because the children will be hungry and the children will be able to go to school for the new term. And if you love that or you like that, then you could stay away. Or if you feel that the people who invest a lot of money in this industry and you don't care, you could stay away. I am telling you today that it's important that we stay together as an organization and we stand firm. This is not about me. This is not about me. You see what's taking place each and every single day with theft around this country. You know. And it's not about me. All I am doing is trying to do the correct thing as a leader. And I have to do it. So please, come and make sure you're being present here Saturday, because this is something that we need to do. Stay together to hold this organization together and hold this industry together. So I want to thank everybody again, and I put it on back to the secretary. We'll take two more questions, because I have a lot of questions. We'll take two more.
So this person asks, can you give us an update as to how many members are involved with TTSIDA and what percentage you think might be for members or persons purchasing stolen material?
As I mentioned, it's just a few. It's just a few doing it. Because I mention all the time, it's just about 6 to 7 people export copper out of Trinidad. Okay? So if it's 2 out of the 6, I don't know. But all I could tell you is not a lot of people export copper out of Trinidad. Okay? What else?
That was it.
Okay. That's it? What the question? All right. I mention this all the time. We have 125 members so far. And people keep on joining each and every single day. So we need to update that figure just now.
Any other closing remarks?
Mr. Fields, you have anything to say before we close?
No, I'm good. I'm fine.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Ferguson. Thank you, Mr. Plaza and Mr. Fields. Thank you for listening and viewing us today. Stay connected to TTSIDA via our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Thank you and have a safe day.